Welcome back to Secret Weapons, and today we are taking a look at the Wilderness analog voice delay by Native Audio. If you're a regular around this page, you know that we talk a lot about, I guess I would say, complex and intricate pedals. I think everything is just on a learning curve, but there's a lot of kind of multi-effects, things like the Zoya and et al. On this page that can get really intense in their routing options and their dip switches and the MIDI and the craziness and everything. And sometimes it's just really nice to have a simple, clear-cut analog voice delay with just the features you want and nothing else. Enter the Wilderness. This is a great sounding, I feel no frills. Some people might find that some of these things are frilly, but I don't find anything in here to be unnecessary in any way, shape, or form delay. This is a analog voiced tap tempo mono delay pedal that just sounds correct. You've got your mix and your feedback, you've got your time and or subdivisions control, and you've got your modulation parameters. And that's almost it, which is kind of amazing. You've got an external control for your tap, and then you've got separate controls for the depth and rate of your modulation, which I love. I'm a big proponent that a single knob modulation is not helpful, because I think that being able to control your speed and your depth independently is always important for me, because I always want the depth to be bigger than the speed. Always. There's never a time where I want somebody else to make that parameter decision for me. And so I appreciate that that's on here on such a streamlined device. You've also got the ability to switch between ramping and tap for your control switch down here, which will allow you to either tap in your predetermined subdivision, or which will allow you to switch between two different delay sounds, delay modes, something like that on this pedal. So you can kind of go from your long, big 1,000 millisecond ambient delay, hit this button, and it will like rip chord into a slap back, almost like oil can sounding delay. Super cool. That transition period can be kind of fun if you really dial it in a little bit, but I just find that it's easy and it's straightforward. And you know what I love? There's no tone control, because it doesn't need it. It's voiced correctly. I'm really impressed with the voicing on this thing. It's clear, it's articulate, it's not overly bright, it doesn't get lost in the mix. You can do your kind of dotted eighth, kind of edge vibe, sort of rhythmic palm muted stuff, or you can just kind of play and have it just kind of like drift away forever and ever. It's really useful. You can go full wet on it, which is awesome. The feedback doesn't go to a place of oscillation. It just goes to a place of just drifting and drifting and drifting, which is really, really cool. So I don't know, there's not a lot to say about it. All I can really do is sit here and say, it sounds good. It sounds really good. It's easy to dial the sound you want in this thing. If you're in the market for an analog voiced delay and you want something that is no frills, but will let you get the sound you want, this is a really good contender. This is a really good option. So, check it out. Let's dive into some sounds. Let's see what we can get out of this thing. Okay, before we jump into some sounds, we'll run through what our kind of context is going to be, our signal chain and our dry tone, quote unquote dry tone, before we integrate the delay in. So I'm playing a harmony silhouette into the Benson PreAmp, the Wilderness delay, the GFI Specular Tempus as kind of like a medium plate setting into the Strymon Iridium. So let's hear that, and then we'll bring that delay in. Okay. What I really like about this delay so much is that it's nice when a simple delay just sounds good. So we've got the modulation totally out, mix at noon and repeats at noon with a dotted eighth tempo tapped in. So let's give it a listen. What I love is you don't really need to do a lot to make that sound good. You've just got a great standard delay tone. So let's introduce some of that modulation and get some real texture going. So modulation is all at noon as well now. It's great chorusing sounds. Another thing that I'm really impressed with about this thing is that feedback knob never quite hits that runaway oscillation sound, so you can actually use it for some really cool infinite swell kind of stuff. So let's use, we're on the Enzo page on this thing. Let's use it to bring in kind of a dry swell style thing with the feedback at maximum. We'll cool off that chorus a little bit. And let's actually switch to our slowest delay times. See, easy, gentle, stays out of the way, doesn't clash with itself, isn't so bright that it gets really like hairy and crazy, not so dark that you lose it before you need to. You just have really killer long feedback kind of delay trails that just drift so well. I'm not sure where I have my ramping controls set to, so let's build another one of those and then just kind of see what happens. So it goes to a fast one. Let's turn the Enzo off. So kind of a slapbacky thing. I do like that when you ramp to those really fast speeds, it can get you really quickly to that kind of chorusy sound. It's very slapbacky, but it also just has a really cool almost rotary vibe, but pitch instead of amplitude, obviously. It has a very like oil can delay feel to it, which I really dig. Back down. So that cycle up obviously sounds very like choppy and interesting, but like so if you go. Got some cool sci-fi sounds in there. So let's go back to tapping in. Just a nice, slow. Bring that. Let's max out the modulation just for fun really quick. So yeah, it can get pretty wacky, which is not totally my bag, but I get that some people want that like heavy thing. And I could see if you're doing like a parallel wet kind of thing, it could be really cool. Let's go with, I tend to like a slower rate and a higher depth. So let's set it right there and see how that sounds. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Full wet, which can be really nice if you are. Let's go with my big synth chord thingy in the Enzo. Keep the feedback all the way up, and let's just build a full wet version of that pad thing we were doing earlier. So I think this is the sweet spot for me. It's straightforward, it's rhythmic, it's mellow and nice. There's some extra features in there if you want them, but it's kind of like it's like the Chase Bliss stuff with the dip switches, where if you want to go deeper, if you want to mess around with the ramping, if you want to mess around with some of the crazier things for sale there, like the really big modulation, you can. But it's largely a like just instant good, instant easy to use, instant the right sound kind of delay pedal. And I really like that because it seems like there is fewer and fewer of those out there that have the right settings. And I feel like this is one of those ones that does. I really dig it. So, Native Audio, this is dope. Great work. Be on the lookout for the 1.5 version that he just recently released with some new updates and some new features. So if you've got this version, hit up his website for the upgrade. And if you haven't picked one up yet, definitely take a look at it because it sounds great. Listen to that. It's really good.